Well, good afternoon, all my fantastic fanatics. This is your man, Dr. Usher, coming at you live, wherever you are in the world, in your car or on the internet. Hopefully, one day on the radio. Maybe I'm on your radio. Maybe you're listening to me on iTunes. Maybe you're listening to me on Anchor. Maybe you're listening to me on Spotify or Pandora. But wherever you are, I got a word for you today. And as you're listening to me, I'm going to try to make this message quick enough for you to listen to on your way to work. Because I understand that there's a lot of stupid stuff on the radio that doesn't really help you on your day. And this topic, it may be a little bit deep for you to ponder. So as you listen to it, if you're driving to work, you may not be able to get deep into this message today. But this is going to be a good message, it's going to be a good topic. And I want everybody to take your time and listen to what I'm about to say, because what I'm about to talk about today is very challenging. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's one of the most challenging messages that I ever had to deliver. And if you don't know the topic, today's topic is Today's topic, we're going to be talking about how your pain, your suffering, and your loss could be someone else's blessing. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably tripping out over what I'm saying right now, because you're asking me, how can something that happened to me be someone else's blessing? How can something so horrible that happened to me be someone else's blessing? Well, I want to start off today's topic by asking you a question. Have you ever experienced loss? Yes or no? Have you experienced loss ever in your life? Now, what type of loss am I talking about? I'm talking about any type of loss that has caused you some form of emotional discomfort. See, listen, there are different types of losses that we experience that we chalk up to, I guess, just normal daily life, like losing a receipt or losing a pencil, or maybe you lost your glasses, because, I tend to lose my glasses a lot. So, those type of losses don't really impact us in a significant negative way. I mean, come on. We might be ticked off and yell at our spouse, hey, where's my stuff? It's right where you left it. Are you blind? Because, sometimes I'll leave my stuff and I'll say, hey, honey, where are my shoes? Right where you left them. And I'd be like, where? In front of your nose. And I'm looking in front of my nose, and I'm like, there they are. And so, we lose things, we misplace things, and those are of no consequence to us. We didn't pay a great value. They didn't mean anything significant to us in any significant way. But the type of loss that I want to talk to you about today are the abnormal, out of the ordinary, emotionally traumatic losses, such as losing your job, or something of great value like a piece of jewelry, or even money. Some people, like if my grandmama gave me a piece of jewelry, or one of your relatives gave you a piece of jewelry before they passed on, and you lost that, I'm pretty sure that will cause you some emotional discomfort. Losing your job. Wow, that could cause you some emotional discomfort. Sometimes when you lose your job, you just feel depressed and you feel like you're a big loser. And that can cause some emotional stress because you lost a job or you lost a piece of jewelry. Or let's say that you had some money and you lost the money. My daughter lost her money and she had the biggest hissy fit. I'm telling you guys, losing money can be emotionally traumatic for people, Now, I know that some of you guys are thinking that, these things could be construed as superficial because each of those things can be replaced with some effort. Yes, with some effort, you can replace that job with another job by going out job hunting. You can replace that money by earning more money. You can replace that piece of jewelry by going out buying another piece of jewelry. Yes, it's not the same as the one grandmama gave you, but it's still replaceable. But what about the loss of a loved one. A life can never be replaced like a job, like jewelry, or like money. Do y'all understand that? So how is it then that your loss can be someone else's blessing? And I know you guys are like, Raph, dude, you're ticking me off. No, no, no. Listen to me. Seriously, listen to me. Because what I want you to do is, we're going to go to the Bible. And I'm going to share with you from the Bible this concept that your loss, your grief, your suffering could very well be someone else's blessing. Because I'm about to show you in the Bible right now. So go to your Bible to Matthew chapter 17, and we're going to go through verses 24 through 27. And and please allow me to break this apart for you, because you know me, Pastor Raffi, I love to break stuff apart. So let's start with verse 24. When they came to Capernaum, the tax collectors of the 2 drachma tax went up to Peter and said, "Does your teacher not pay the tax?" Okay, who is the teacher here? Jesus. And of course, Peter responded, he said, "Well, yes." And when he came into the house, Jesus spoke to him first, saying, "What do you think, Simon? From whom do kings of the earth take toll or tax? From their sons or from others?" Verse 26. And when he said this, Peter responded, "From others." And Jesus said to him, "Then the sons are free. However, not to give offense to them, go to the sea," Jesus is saying, so you don't offend folk. So these people that you got to pay taxes to, this is what I want you to do, Peter. I want you to go to the sea, cast a hook, and take the first fish that comes up. And when you open its mouth, you will find a shekel. Take that shekel and give it to them for me and yourself. So there's enough provision in this fish that can pay taxes not only for Jesus, but also for Peter. That must have been a significant shekel right there. Now let's go to verse 27. Okay, verse 27. Check this out. I want to ask you a question. Now read verse 27. Read it right now. I'm going to ask you a question as you're reading it. Where did the fish get the gold coin from? Or it might have been silver. Whatever it is, it was a shekel. Where did the fish get it from? Well, imagine, if you will, a hardworking man with a wife and 7 kids. Let's call him Joe. Hey, Joe. Joe is a hardworking man. For the past 10 years, Joe has been working and waking up every day at the crack of dawn just to go earn money to sustain his family. And guess what? Just like everybody else, Joe lives paycheck to paycheck. Well, one morning, Joe gets up, and prior to going to work, his wife gives him their last bit of money. Now, fellas, if you've ever worked paycheck to paycheck and your wife gives you that last piece of her money and asks you to go do something with it, a lot of you guys already know you better do what your wife says do with that money. And okay, Joe's wife asks him, "Hey, I need you to go to the store, bring back some food." And with joy, he kisses her and says, "Okay, yeah, baby, I'm going to get you some food." And she says, "Now, Joe, payday until next week. So don't waste it on junk food. We need enough food that will last us until payday." Now, I don't know if you guys ever experienced that, but I grew up in a family where, sometimes we had to wait till payday for our parents to buy certain foods or buy certain snacks or even buy shoes for us. You see, you guys got it blessed. Some of you guys never had to wait until payday because your parents had made enough money where they could just buy it right on the spot. But not Joe. Joe and his wife, no, she gave Joe the last bit of money that they had, and he had to spend it on food and get enough food until it lasts until payday. And he responds, like every other guy, "Babe, don't worry. I got this. I know what to buy." And Joe hurries off to work. And as Joe arrives at work, Joe meets his boss. And his boss says, hey, Joe, I need you to get on the boat and I need you to go bring some men, get some of the men and help the men bring in today's catch. Because, Joe's a fisherman. And so he's got to get on the boat. So he gets on the boat and they set sail for the deep sea. Okay? Now, you think you know where this is going, right? No, you don't know where it's going. Wait till I finish the story. As they're approaching their fishing spot, because everybody knows when you go fishing, my dad used to go fishing, he had his favorite fishing spot. Well, every fisherman has their favorite fishing spot. And so Joe and his boat, they go to their favorite fishing spot, and a storm comes out of nowhere. The waves are crashing. The ship is rocking up and down. The rain is pouring and thunder is clapping and rain is pouring and everything's going crazy. As Joe tries to keep his balance on the top of the deck of the ship, he slips and falls. Ah! And then slow motion. The gold coins that his wife gave him rose out of his pockets, headed for the edge of the ship. And as he's trying to grab that money, in slow motion, the coins roll off the ship and into the water. Now, let me ask you a question. What is Joe going to tell his wife? While Joe is on his hands and knees on the edge of the ship, looking over the deck into the deep blue sea, a few meters down, there's this fish that sees this shiny coin. Bloop, 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 bloop. And guess what that fish does? The fish eats one of the coins. A few hours later, the storm dies. Calms down a little bit. And Joe has to return home with the bad news. Now, let me ask you a question. How do you think Joe felt? Now, I know I'm being light about this, but seriously, how do you think Joe felt at that moment, knowing that he lost the last bit of money that they had until payday? How do you think his wife and kids felt? How do you think they responded when they found out that they were not going to have any food to eat for an entire week? Now, do you think they saw this as a blessing of God? These people are about to suffer. And that's what I need you to see. See, some of you guys may be thinking, Dr. Raff, what has this got to do with Matthew 17? Listen, let's read verse 27 again, where Jesus tells Peter, go to the sea and cast a hook and take the first fish that comes up. And when you open its mouth, you will find a shekel. Question, where do you think the shekel came from? See, listen, in order for Jesus and Peter to get blessed, someone else had to suffer loss. Wow. Well, you might be thinking, well, Dr. Raff, that's Peter and Jesus. They're big people in the Bible. Of course they would get blessed. Yeah, Raff, of course. Okay, I'll give you that. But how would you explain Matthew 13, verses 44? And it says this, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in the field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Now, let me explain what happened. This guy found money buried in a field. Who do you think the money belonged to first? Do you think that someone suffered loss? See, listen, people. I'm going to explain this. This man goes to a field, finds money buried in a field, and he sells everything he has to buy the field so he can own the money. But the question is, where did that money come from? Do you think someone suffered loss? See, there could have been people traveling through that area on a rainy night and lost their money bag without even knowing it. How do you think the original owners of that money felt when they arrived to their final destination and found out that their hard-earned money was gone? See, their loss became someone else's blessing. Now, here's some of you saying, well, Raf, Dr. Raf, that's all material stuff that can be replaced. How could the loss of a loved one be someone else's blessing, Raf? Come on, Dr. Usher. You're a doctor. Explain it. Well, I'm so glad you asked. The first thing I want you to understand is that humans are usually spurred to action only when the loss of life is imminent. That's just how we are. See, nobody wants to die. We all want to live a long life. And that's not a bad thing, people. It's really not. However, it's because of this desire to live that it takes death to spur us to action. Yes, it takes death to spur mankind to action. See, if enough people start dying, then mankind tends to try to mitigate the causes of death so that people will live. Okay? Take, for example, diabetes. You know, before there were treatment for diabetes, thousands of people would die from that disease. I remember, like in my grandmother's generation, where there was no diabetes treatment. They just said he had sugar in his blood. He got the sugar blood or the sweet blood, and there was no cure for it, and people would basically just die, just like that. But think about this. If people had not died, would we have treatments today? Think about it. The same as with cancer and other life-threatening sicknesses. Unless a significant number of people start dying, then there would be no treatment for cures available. Now, see, this is kind of hard because the loss of your loved one is a blessing for other people, because had your loved one not died, countless others would be suffering the grief of loss today. I'm going to repeat that because I really need you to hear me. Had your loved one not died, countless others would be suffering the grief of loss today. Well, you may be thinking, Dr. Raff, that's just not fair. That's not fair. Why does my loved one have to die so that others can benefit? Hold up a minute. Hold up just a one stinking minute. Don't think that you were exempt from this benefit. Don't ever think that you are exempt from this benefit. You too are a beneficiary of someone's death. Had someone not died from sickness or disease or even an act of violence, you would not be here today. That's the honest to God truth. Or if you would have been here, your quality of life would have been significantly different. You would have had some form of palsy or missing limb or some other life-altering debilitation or psychiatric illness. That's just the truth. The reason why you and your family are able to even grieve the loss of your loved one is because you benefited from the loss of someone else's loss of a loved one. Wow. And I know you guys are going to hate me. I know a lot of you guys are going to just, I'm never going to talk to Pastor Raff again. That guy, listen, final example. If you're black, I want you to listen to me. You definitely benefited from the death of others. How many black people were lynched, burned, raped, and mutilated until people were spurred to action? Each one of those lives was not lost in vain. Wake up, church. None of those lives were lost in vain. Each of those deaths served a purpose. The purpose was to motivate and spur change in our world so that it would benefit future generations. So don't you dare ever believe that the death of a loved one was senseless or pointless. There is a bigger picture being painted, and that loved one's life was just one brushstroke in that picture. See, some brushstrokes are long, meaning a long life. Some brushstrokes are short, meaning a short life. But all the strokes are significant and needed in order for the overall painting to be completed. That's the truth. And God is the painter, and we are the paint. Let us never lose sight of how significant every life is to God, and never, ever, ever get so short-sighted and so egocentric to believe that the loss of our loved one was meaningless and cruel, because it wasn't. You have no idea how vital that person's brush stroke is to the kingdom. You personally may not even ever see or experience the benefit of their death, but someone down the line will. I promise you, their death was not in vain. Someone down the line will benefit from that death. I know you can't see it now, but this is a painting, people. God is painting a beautiful masterpiece. And some paint strokes, guess what, are wiggly, meaning that some lives will go through a little bit of hardship. Some lives are straight and smooth, meaning they'll have an easy life. Some are just a dot, meaning they were just here for a minute and gone, maybe a loss of a baby through abortion or miscarriage. But every life counts in the painting of God. And I need for you to understand that every life matters. And yes, we benefited from the suffering and loss and grief of others. Every one of us on this planet has. Final verse. The Bible says, give, and it shall be given unto you. In good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Shall who give unto your bosom? Shall men give unto your bosom? It's not coming from heaven. It's coming from men. So that means, in order for you to get blessed, I have to suffer loss to bless you. You see how this works? So that's all I have right now, because I feel like I've expressed my point. But if you have questions, comments, concerns, feedback, feel free to send me a message. Feel free to call me, 1-877-JOIN-OMI. And I'll be glad to talk with you or send you a message, email, or whatever. But I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast, this live stream. And remember, before I go, I got to say my famous saying: do as much good as you can while you can. Y'all be blessed, and goodbye. Love y'all. Peace.